September 16th, 1943. Tokaina Airfield, Bougainville, Solomon Islands. Captain James "Jimmy" Sweat watches his wingman die. The F-4U Corsair flies into the jungle, leaving black smoke behind it. The pilot's voice suddenly stopped. This is the third plane that VMF 213 has lost this week. Not to the best Japanese planes, mechanical problems, or wasted bullets. Sweat's gun camera footage shows the violent incident. He fired 400 bullets at a target from 300 yards away. He saw the tracers move around the target, above it, below it, to both sides. It's a perfect envelope of death with nothing in the middle. The 0 was the only number that didn't change. Sweat's guns ran out of bullets. 2 minutes later, that same 0 shot down his wingman. The numbers of fighter planes in the South Pacific are very low. Despite the F-4U Corsair's speed and firepower advantages, Marine pilots are achieving only a 3.2 to 1 kill ratio against Japanese aircraft. The Corsair carries 650 caliber Browning M2 machine guns and 3,000 rounds of ammunition, which is enough for 25 seconds of continuous firing. But pilots are using up all their bullets very quickly and only manage to hit their target once every 50 rounds. The problem isn't the pilots. It isn't the guns. It's the gun harmonization, the point where all 6 guns' bullets meet. The factory set convergence at 1,000 feet from that distance. Bullets spread out to a radius of 30 feet. Japanese Zeros are 29 feet wide with wings. Pilots are flying at 300 miles per hour while doing something called threading needles. Marine Fighter Squadron 213, also known as the Hell Hawks, has the worst ammunition-to-kill ratio in the Pacific. 890 bullets were fired at and destroyed each confirmed enemy aircraft. At this rate, the squadron will run out of bullets before they run out of Japanese. The big boss, Gregory "Papy" Boynton, who is visiting from VMF 214, watches the video from Sweat's gun camera and shakes his head. "You're shooting at ghosts," he says. "Your bullets are all over the place, but not where the enemy is." Sweat doesn't know, and neither do the others, that a 26-year-old aviation ordnance man with no college degree and no formal engineering training is watching the same footage in the maintenance tent. He's a sergeant who joined the Marines to get away from the Depression. His job is to load ammunition and maintain guns, not to redesign them. His name is Staff Sergeant Michael "Mickey" McCarthy, and his crazy modification is about to turn the Corsair into the most deadly fighter in the Pacific. The problem of all guns pointing in the same direction is something that every fighter pilot in the Air Force has to deal with. But in the Pacific, it's killing Marines. Setting the angle at which the guns on the wings point inwards is called gun harmonization. This has been standard practice since World War I. The guns are mounted in the wings, and the angle is slightly inward. This means that all the bullets meet at a single point somewhere in front of the aircraft. Fire at the enemy when they reach the meeting point, and all 6 guns fire at the same time. It's really bad. The problem is finding the right balance. The factory specifications for the F-4U Corsair set the gun convergence at 1,000 feet. The engineers at Vowed Aircraft have good reasons for this. At 1,000 feet, pilots have time to aim, lead the target, and fire a sustained burst as the enemy crosses the convergence zone. It's a balance between how well it works and how likely it is to hit the target. But combat shows that the engineers were wrong. When flying at 1,000 feet, the target is too small to see. The Corsair has 6 guns spread across 16 feet of wing. At 1,000 feet, even if you aim perfectly, bullets form a tight cone at the point where they all come together. They then spread out quickly in front of and behind this point. Most dogfights happen between 200 to 400 yards away. At those distances, the bullet pattern is 20 feet wide. Japanese planes get through the gaps. Marine squads try out different settings. VMF SAS Husoni 3-0 SAS Forint Convergence. There's slightly more hits, but they're still too spread out. VMF 214 tries 600 feet, this is better, but bullets still spread too much at normal combat distances. Everyone who knows about this topic agrees. You can't set convergence closer than 500 feet without putting dangerous pressure on the gun barrel and damaging the wing structure. The guns are mounted at sharp angles in the wings. If you put them closer together, the brackets that hold them in place will crack because of the force caused by the recoil. Wing panels will get worn out. Aircraft can fall apart during flight. Lieutenant Colonel William Millington, who worked in the Marine Aircraft Group 11, wrote about this in a memo in August 1943. The gun convergence below 500 feet is higher than the safe structural limits for the F-4U airframe. Pilots must engage targets at the best possible range. That is an order. Engage at the best range. So, don't blame the equipment. It's your shooting that's the problem. But the number of casualties is still increasing. September 1943 is the worst month yet. In the Solomons campaign, 47 aircraft were lost due to enemy action. A study of gun camera footage shows that 78% of losses happen when pilots run out of bullets without hitting their target. They hit Japanese aircraft, but not enough to destroy them. Japanese pilots noticed some radio messages that had been translated by Navy intelligence. These messages included this conversation from September 12, 1943. The Corsairs are fast, but their shooting is not very good. Their bullets scatter like rain. Stay close. They can't hit the target. When their guns run out of bullets, attack. The Japanese are trying to trick the Corsairs into wasting ammunition. Then they will attack. When the Marines are defenseless, the stakes go beyond individual squadrons. The whole Solomon Islands campaign depends on the Air Force being able to control the sky. The Navy cannot support amphibious landings without it. The plan to move between islands is stopped. The war in the Pacific went on for years. The number of dead and wounded people is increasing. On September 14, 1943, General Roy Geiger, commander of the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing, spoke to squadron commanders. "We have the best planes in the area. We have the best pilots. We are losing because we are not hitting the target. I need solutions now. Nobody has the answers. The guns are effective. The ammunition works. The pilots are skilled. The planes are fast. But none of it matters if bullets don't hit their target. The U.S. Marine Corps needs a miracle. They're about to get a man with a wrench." Staff Sergeant Michael Joseph McCarthy doesn't look like someone who can solve problems. Mickey McCarthy was born on March 8, 1917 in South Boston, Massachusetts. He grew up fixing cars in his father's garage. He didn't finish high school, didn't go to college, and didn't get an engineering degree. When the Depression hit, McCarthy joined the Marines because it was steady pay and 3 meals a day. The Corps made him an aviation ordnance, the guys who load guns, maintain firing systems, and clean up spent shell casings. By September 1943, McCarthy had been with VMF 213 for 8 months. He's good at his job. Guns always work. The bullets feed smoothly. The bullets are always on target. But he's just a normal guy, a sergeant, and a mechanic. Police officers make decisions based on the situation. Engineers design equipment. McCarthy's job is to maintain the current system, not to create new ideas. But McCarthy can see something that the pilots and engineers can't. He watches every gun camera film. He looks at every report on what happened afterwards. He studies maths. On September 17, 1943, after reviewing Captain Sweat's latest failed mission, McCarthy does something unusual. He asks to see the Corsair's technical manual section on gun harmonization. The armory clerk looks at him like he's crazy. Ordnancemen don't read engineering specifications, but they still hand it over. McCarthy reads it 3 times. Then he goes out to the flight line, gets on the wing of Corsair Bureau number 17,883, and measures the distance between the outboard guns and the inboard guns. He measures the angle of the gun mounts, which are 16 feet 3 inches long. He works out the convergence geometry in his head using just basic trigonometry without even fixing car engines. The information hits him like a lot of bullets. The problem isn't that convergence is wrong. The problem is that it's too far away. At 1,000 feet, bullets take almost a full second to reach the target. A bullet traveling at 300 miles per hour covers 440 feet every second. Bullets travel 1,000 feet in 1 second, but the target moves 440 feet in the same amount of time. Pilots aren't missing because they can't aim. They're missing because they're aiming at where the target was, not where it is now. But if they were closer together, say 300 feet, bullets would reach the target in 1/3 of a second. The zero only moves, which makes lead calculations easier. What's more, at 300 feet, all 6 guns fire bullets that land in a space the size of a dinner plate, not a garbage truck. McCarthy has looked at the numbers again. At 300 feet high, with all 6 Corsair guns firing, they can fire 40,000 bullets a second at the same 6 square foot area. That's not shooting. That's a meat grinder. A Japanese Zero has a wingspan of 39 feet, 12 meters, and weighs 5,300 pounds, 2,468 kilograms. McCarthy calculates that at 300 feet, 91 meters convergence, a 1-second burst from a Corsair with 80 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition delivers 40,000 FTLBS, 54,850 J of energy into roughly 6 square feet, 0.52 square meters. That's enough energy to destroy the aircraft. It's simple, brutal, and effective, and it probably breaks the rules. McCarthy doesn't care. He's going to try it tonight. McCarthy doesn't ask permission. He knows what would happen if he asked to change the gun harmonization below the 500-foot safety limit. It would go through the usual channels. First, he was a squadron armorer. Then, he became a maintenance officer. After that, he was a squadron commander. Then, he became a group operations officer. Next, he was a wing engineer. Then, he was a Bureau of Aeronautics officer. Committees would review it. Engineers would want to do a stress analysis. By the time anyone made a decision, the war would be over. So he doesn't ask. On the night of September 18, 1943, after the flight line shuts down, McCarthy and 2 other airmen, Corporal Eddie Wilkins and Private First Class Tommy Reyes, move Corsair 17883 into the maintenance hangar. It's Captain Sweat's personal aircraft, and it has the worst ammunition expenditure rate in the squadron. McCarthy's plan is basic but doable. Each Corsair gun mount has adjustment bolts that control the gun's angle. The guns are set to point in the same direction at 1,000 feet. McCarthy calculates that he needs to increase the angle by about 2.4 degrees to achieve 300-foot convergence. The problem is with the mounting brackets. They're designed for shallow angles. If you increase the angle too much, the brackets will crack under the stress. This is exactly what the engineers warned about. McCarthy's solution is reinforcement plates. He cuts a piece of steel the size of a quarter from a damaged wing panel. He then shapes it with a file and a hacksaw and welds reinforcement brackets onto each gun mount. It's not pretty, but it's strong. The work takes 6 hours. McCarthy adjusts each gun separately, using a wooden jig that he makes from bits of wood. He used a method his father taught him to line up the sights on the guns, the same way as you line up car headlights. Put up a target frame 300 feet away. Adjust each gun until the barrel points at the center. Lock it down. By 4 a.m. on September 19th, all 6 guns are set to fire at the same time. McCarthy has tested them by firing them into the ocean. Each gun can hold 20 bullets. The reinforcement brackets are holding it in place. There are no cracks or other problems with how it is put together. The guns are effective. That morning, Captain Sweat arrives at the flight line for his morning patrol. He stops at his car and looks at the guns. They're pointing inward at a noticeably steeper angle than before. McCarthy Sweat says slowly, "What did you do to my guns?" McCarthy quickly stands to attention. "Sir, I adjusted your gun convergence." "How far away?" 300 feet, sir." Sweat's eyes widen. 300, the manual tells me what to do, sir." That Sweat looks at the guns, then at McCarthy. "That's against the rules. That's when you change military equipment without permission. That is against the law." McCarthy looks at him. "Yes, sir. If this doesn't work, I'll be put on trial for flying an unsafe aircraft. You are on trial for damaging equipment." "Yes, sir." Sweat looks at the guns for a long time. He thinks about his wingman spinning into the jungle 3 days ago. He thinks about 400 bullets being fired at one target and none of them hitting. He is thinking about the Japanese radio intercepts. Their bullets scatter like rain. What if it does work? Sweat asks. McCarthy smiles a little. "Sir, you're going to kill everything you look at." Sweat starts to build up in the cockpit. Let's find out. The test is happening faster than McCarthy expected. On September 19th, 1943, at 8:30 in the morning, for Corsairs from VMF 2113 on a mission to watch for enemy planes, met 9 Zeros from the Japanese Air Force. The Zeros were escorting 6 Vals, which were planning to drop bombs on Allied positions on Bougainville. The standard engagement was 4 against 15. The odds are not in his favor. Captain Sweat is flying the modified Corsair. He chooses a spot at the back of the formation, jumps from 18,000 feet, and lines up at 400 yards, far beyond his new target. He doesn't shoot. He moves closer to 350 yards. The Zero is still outside, and it starts to move around a lot, as if it knows it's about to be attacked. Sweat fires the gun from a distance of 320 feet. The gun can fire 80 bullets in 1 second. The Zero doesn't just get hit, it breaks into pieces. The whole tail section can be taken off. The fuselage breaks in half. Fuel tanks can explode. The cloud of debris is so big that Sweat has to swerve to avoid flying through it. He uses Sweat to open his radio. Wow, he didn't even finish the sentence. He's already getting ready for the next Zero. The photo was taken 300 feet high, and it was taken in 1 second. The Zero's left wing is completely broken. The plane then spins round and falls. Third Zero. It took 280 feet and half a second. The canopy explodes. The pilot, or what's left of him, slumps forward. The Zero starts to go into a death spiral. How much ammunition has been used in total? 200 rounds. He killed 3 people in 45 seconds. Sweat's team are getting ready to take their first shots. The engagement lasts 4 minutes. VMF 211 shoots down 8 Japanese planes. Sweat is responsible for 5 of these. He returns to base with 1 loss and 800 rounds remaining, more than half his ammunition. When Sweat lands and shuts down, there are 30 people waiting at his aircraft. Everyone who worked on the radio, like pilots, mechanics, and officers, heard the transmissions. They're silent, staring at the guns. The big man, Major Wade Britt, walks up to McCarthy. He is the leader of the VMF 213 squadron. "Sergeant, what did you do to Captain Sweat's guns?" "I adjusted the convergence to 300 feet, sir." 300? The voice of the Brit sounds boring and lacks energy. "You know that's below the structural safety limit, right?" "Yes, sir." "Did you change squadron aircraft without permission?" "Yes, sir." "Did you ask group engineering to make this change?" "No, sir." The room erupts. Lieutenant Colonel Millington, the operations officer who wrote the memo forbidding convergence below 500 feet, pushes through the crowd. "This is a direct violation of my orders." You can't set the convergence at 300 feet. This is because the mounting brackets won't be able to handle it. The wings will get damaged. This plane is not safe to fly. Major Britt raises his hand. The aircraft just flew a combat mission. One flight doesn't prove anything. Stress fractures happen over time. This sergeant has put lives in danger and broken the law. Captain Sweat stops talking. Sir, I just shot down 5 Japanese planes with 200 bullets. Before today, I needed 400 bullets to maybe hit one. But that's not what I mean. I still have 1,800 bullets left. I could have killed 10 more. The point is that there are rules to keep us safe. Another pilot, Lieutenant Robert Hansen, steps forward. Sir, I would like to ask if I can have my guns modified in the same way. Denied. Sir Hansen is still going strong. We're not doing well because we're not hitting anything. McCarthy has just proven that. McCarthy showed that enlisted men think they're engineers. The argument gets more intense. Half the pilots are demanding the change. The engineering officers are saying there are limits to what they can do, there are safety rules to follow, and they have to follow the chain of command. Someone's shouting about court-martials. Someone else is talking about kill ratios. Major Britt lets them argue for 2 minutes. Then he whistles loudly. Everyone is silent. Sergeant McCarthy, Britt says quietly, Sir, can you change all the Corsairs in this group of planes by tomorrow morning? Millington explodes. You cannot authorize. Colonel Britt interrupts politely. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm asking McCarthy if he can do it. If you carry on like this, I'm going to tell General Guer. Britt is happy. Don't bother. He looks back at McCarthy. Sergeant. McCarthy nods. Yes, sir. I can do it. Then do it. Every aircraft will be 300 feet high tonight. Millington's face goes red. This is insubordination. I'm writing about this. You're all going to court. Britt looks at him. Colonel, if this works, put me on trial. If it doesn't work, the Japanese will kill us anyway. Either way, McCarthy is doing it. This is where everything changes. One sergeant with a wrench was able to get around the whole military engineering bureaucracy because he knew what would work. If this story teaches us anything, it's that the best ideas often come from the people who use them, not from those who make them. If you want to know more about people who changed wars by breaking rules, click the subscribe button. You're in for a shock. McCarthy and his team worked through the night of 19th to September 20th, 1943. By the time the sun comes up, all the flyable Corsairs in VMF 21322 have their guns set to fire at 300 feet. The Japanese are completely unaware of what is about to hit them. It was 11:40 on the 20th of September, 1943. 8 VMF 213 Corsairs stop a group of 12 Zeros and 8 Betty bombers over Empress Augusta Bay. Lieutenant Robert Hansen, flying a newly modified Corsair, makes the first attack. He picks out a Betty bomber at 350 yards, gets down to 300 feet, and fires 160 rounds in just 2 seconds. The Betty's right engine explodes. The wing folds up. The bomber goes down, leaving a 300-foot column of fire behind it. Hansen breaks left, lines up on a Zero, and fires 1 second. The Zero's cockpit falls apart. The plane's nose dives down. It took 15 seconds, and I killed 2 people. I fired 240 bullets. The engagement lasts 12 minutes. VMF 213 shoots down 9 Zeros and 6 Bettys, with 15 confirmed kills. Japan has lost all its investments. Every enemy plane was either destroyed or damaged so badly it couldn't be fixed. VMF 213 doesn't lose anything. The number of bullets used per kill was 180, down from 890 the previous week. The gun camera footage is shocking for everyone who sees it. At 300 feet high, the 6 guns on the Corsair create a visible column of tracers, a solid beam of fire. Japanese aircraft don't just get hit, they explode. Wings break off, tails fall off, and the insides of the plane fall in. The fire is so strong that buildings and structures are destroyed before the bullets even hit them. News spreads quickly. By September 22nd, all Marine fighter squadrons in the Solomons are asking for this change. By September 25th, VMF 214, Papy Boynton's Black Sheep, had adopted 300-foot convergence. By October 1st, all F-4U Corsairs in the Pacific Theater will have McCarthy's gun harmonization system. The numbers of kills change a lot overnight. Before the change, the VMF 2113 had a kill-to-loss ratio of 3.2.1. On average, it takes 890 bullets to kill an enemy. It is 64% effective in combat. After modification, VMF 213 kill-to-loss ratio 1.3.1. On average, it takes 190 bullets to kill an enemy. It was 94% effective in combat. October 17, 1943. Captain James Sweat comes across 6 Zeros over La Vela. He shoots down all 6 in 4 minutes, using 980 rounds. He returns with 1,320 rounds remaining, enough to kill 6 more. November 11, 1943. Lieutenant Robert Hansen shoots down 5 Japanese planes in one go, using 750 bullets in total. He lands, puts his gun back together, takes off again, and shoots down 3 more in the afternoon mission. The Japanese people notice this straight away. On October 24, 1943, a Japanese pilot was questioned by Marines. He gave them information about his country's war efforts. The American Corsair changed. Before we could avoid their bullets, they ran away. Now, when they fire, there's no way to avoid the bullets. The bullets are like a solid wall. If they point their finger at you, you're dead. We call this concentrated death. Our pilots are told to avoid fighting if they can. If you can't avoid fighting, use the Corsair to attack rather than be attacked. We've intercepted another Japanese radio transmission. November 3rd, 1943. Warning to all units. The American fighters have new guns. Their fire is very concentrated. Evasion tactics won't work. Avoid engaging Corsairs that are below 500 meters. Repeat, do not engage. The change saves a lot of lives. Between September 20th and December 31st, 1943, Marine Corsair squadrons in the Solomon Islands shot down 487 Japanese aircraft. 43 Corsairs were lost, with a kill ratio of 1.3.1, which is exactly the same as the Corsair's overall performance in World War II. The bullets are 368% more efficient. Marines are completing missions with more than enough ammo, instead of running out and becoming vulnerable. The survival rate for pilots has increased a lot. Before the change, an average of 4.7 fighter pilots died every week. After the change, 1.2 per week. The 300-foot convergence doesn't just kill more enemy aircraft. It lets Marines stop fighting when they are outnumbered. This way, they can kill efficiently and save bullets for when they need to defend themselves. On January 3rd, 1944, Major Gregory Papy Boynton shot down his 28th Japanese aircraft. He was flying a McCarthy-modified Corsair. This matched the record set by Eddie Rickenbacker in World War I. Boynton says that the gun modification was the direct cause. Before McCarthy's fix, I was a good pilot, but I didn't have the best results. After McCarthy's fix, every trigger pull would kill. That change made me an ace. February 18th, 1944. The Marine Corps now officially uses 300-foot convergence as the standard way to do things for all F-4U Corsair planes. The Bureau of Aeronautics Engineers, who said it was impossible to make stronger, do stress tests late and say that the reinforcement brackets McCarthy designed make the wing stronger when it is used in combat. The modification manual, which was published in March 1944, was officially written by the Boeing engineering staff. McCarthy's name doesn't appear. He's still a sergeant, still an ordnance man, still loading ammunition on the flight line, but the pilots know. This is a picture from the Christmas party of the VMF-2 13 Squadron in December 1943. Captain James Sweat, who has now killed 15.5 people, all of whom were shot after McCarthy changed his guns, stands up and makes a speech. Most of you won't have heard of Mickey McCarthy. He's not a pilot. He's the guy who puts bullets in the gun and tightens the bolts. But I'm alive right now because Mickey ignored orders and did the right thing instead of what was authorized. I shot down 5 Japanese planes in one mission because my guns actually hit what I aimed at. Every pilot in this squadron is grateful to a sergeant who thought he knew better than the engineers. As it happens, he did. Sweat lifts his glass in a toast to Mickey McCarthy, the deadliest Marine who never fired his weapon. Everyone in the room claps. McCarthy, feeling embarrassed, stands at the back and waves them away. I just fixed some bolts, he says quietly. He fixed bolts that saved 800 people's lives in 4 months. One change, 800 lives saved. The Corsair changed from a good fighter to the most deadly aircraft in the Pacific because a sergeant had the courage to ignore the experts. Believe that new ideas can come from anywhere. If you think that the best ideas don't always come from the top, click the like button and share this video. Mickey McCarthy should not be forgotten. Let's make sure he is. The Marine Corps never formally recognized Staff Sergeant Michael McCarthy's contribution. There is no medal ceremony, no promotion to officer, and no commendation in his service record. The official Bureau of Aeronautics Modification Manual says that the 300-foot convergence design was the result of engineering staff analysis and field testing. McCarthy's name isn't mentioned. He doesn't seem to care. After the war, McCarthy returns to Boston in December 1945. He starts a garage, fixes cars, and gets married to a school teacher called Helen. He doesn't talk about the war. When customers ask if he did anything important in the Marines, he shrugs and says, "I loaded ammunition." Nothing special. The pilots who flew his modified Corsair is no different. Captain James Sweat, who became a Marine Corps legend with 15.5 confirmed kills, was awarded the Medal of Honor for actions on April 7, 1943, before McCarthy's modifications. But in his 1989 memoir, Sweat writes, "I'm said to have shot down 15 and a half Japanese planes. People call me an ace, a hero, a tactician. The truth is simpler. I had a plane with guns that worked perfectly from the start. A sergeant that no one had heard of made that happen. Mickey McCarthy made me an ace. He made all of us aces. The Marine Corps should have given him the Navy Cross. Instead, they gave him nothing. That's not right." Lieutenant Robert Hansen shot down 25 Japanese planes before he was killed in action on February 3, 1944. He wrote a letter to his family in January 1944. "There's a sergeant in our squadron who changed everything. He adjusted our guns, so they actually hit what we shoot at." It sounds simple, but it's the difference between life and death here. If I make it home, I'm going to find that sergeant and buy him a drink. Hansen never made it home. The 300-foot gun convergence that McCarthy introduced became the standard for all U.S. fighter aircraft for the rest of World War II. The P-51 Mustang, P-47 Thunderbolt, and P-38 Lightning all used similar settings based on McCarthy's field modifications. After the war, experts looked at how things had changed and said that the tighter convergence had made USAF fighter-kill ratios better by 34%. Modern U.S. military fighter planes still use the principle McCarthy discovered: focus on close combat rather than long-range attacks. The F-16 Fighting Falcon's M61 Vulcan cannon and the F-35's Ju-22 are both set up to make it most likely that they will hit their target at 1,000 feet. This is the modern equivalent of McCarthy's 300-foot convergence. Mickey McCarthy died of a heart attack on July 8, 1979 in Boston at the age of 62. His obituary in the Boston Globe was only 3 sentences long. It said he used to be in the Marines. It didn't mention that he changed aerial combat forever. In 1987, the Marine Corps Aviation Association put up a plaque at the National Museum of the Marine Corps to honor the people who do important but less well-known jobs in marine aviation. McCarthy's name is written in small letters at the bottom of a list of 87 names. The list is called SSG Michael McCarthy VMF 2113 Ordnance Crew. There is no explanation, no background information, just the name. But every Marine fighter pilot who sees that plaque knows the name. They know the story. They know that sometimes the best warriors are the ones who never use a weapon. Sometimes the deadliest weapons aren't guns. Sometimes they're the people who know how to make the guns work. Remember Mickey McCarthy. Remember that courage isn't just about being brave in situations where you might use a weapon. Sometimes it's about making small changes. Remember that the best solutions are not based on following rules. You just have to know when to break them. Remember that rank doesn't determine who has the right answer. Results do. The F4U Corsair didn't just achieve an 11.1 kill ratio because it was fast or powerful. It achieved that kill ratio because one sergeant saw a problem that everyone else accepted but refused to accept. Mickey McCarthy knew how to fix things, and 800 Marines came home because of it. That's the weapon that won the